So I've been wanting to revisit this whole Steve Harvey versus Monique thing that went on a few months back. I kind of didn't like the way things played out in black social media, and how to me it was oversimplification of Steve's a coon and Monique is the wokest woke person who has integrity and character. Like, no, she was on that team until she wasn't on that team anymore. The whole way she did the Netflix thing was it lacked integrity. The way she contributed to gender wars between black men and black women by playing this victim, despite a lot of women not supporting her either, but she went after every dude that, didn't co-sign her efforty. You had her coming at Tony Rock and the Marlon Brothers and stuff like that because they gave their opinion when they have their own Netflix deals and they have a brother. Like, Tony Rock's, Chris Rock's little brother, like they asked him at the airport right before his brother's show was about to air. What was he supposed to say? Was he supposed to, have integrity for your situation that he don't know nothing about over his own brothers? But I didn't like the way it went down. I didn't like this idea of Steve's a coon and Monique's great. And don't get it twisted, I'm not a fan of Steve Harvey marrying the two-time drug, kingpin and all his kids, his sister, brothers, and cousins and whatnot. But I think there's a dynamic that we missed from between men and women and what it means to be on in this society. Let's talk about that. So, ironically, I have watched Blackish, which I haven't been doing, and I just was binging. That's why I was sleeping a couple days ago, watching some of the episodes, and they're copying off a lot of other shows, storylines. I can tell, which is not bad as normal as what other shows do, but they got the whole cousin that's they did the whole Cosby thing where they brought the cousin over to come stay with them when the other kids was out the house type thing. Like, that's just normal, whatever. But a storyline that they also did that the example I was going to use of art imitating life was the TV show Girlfriends. And let's get some visuals for that. That's William from the TV show Girlfriends, and that's the woman who was his love interest on the show, right? So if you remember on the last season of Girlfriends, or maybe the sixth season, because there's only 7, Joan, Tracy Ellis Ross's character, damn, conveniently she's in the show that I want to also use the same clip of. But Joan quit her job. She didn't want to be a lawyer anymore, which is standard in real life, that every lawyer I see is not trying to be a lawyer. They try and be on TV and do other stuff. Damn near all the people you see on TV, the political commentators, they're all lawyers, and they don't want to be lawyers no more. Whatever. But on that 6th season, she quit her job. She wasn't fulfilled. She didn't want to be a lawyer no more. She decided to open up the J Spot, which was the club or whatever. That was her idea. Now, the club was failing, and it was horrible until William, the educated lame, he put on the cape and he gave her some ideas on how it could be successful, making it a club half week, making it a sports bar on certain days of the week as well. And it was successful and it popped off and it worked. But her success was only because William did not quit his job and he kept it and he was able to do that thing. Now, flash forward towards the last season, right, where all these shows before they get canceled, they get super woke and, conscious and whatnot. And it was showing you that William was a partner, but he was the black face of the company. Like, he was just, he had the credentials, he had the receipts of getting clients and whatnot, but he still was just a black face in a white space and didn't really wield much power despite his titles. And they went into that characterization. So, of course, he feels some type of way after being in a job for so long, finally becoming a partner, and you've arrived, but then it's like it's not fulfilling because you worked, bust your ass and all that, and your opinions and your views and whatnot aren't being taken into consideration. So he's in this moment of where, damn, that Dame Dash, anybody who got a boss, don't have a boss type of thing, right? So he wants to go off and do his own thing. But he finally found a woman who was traditional, patriarchal, come from money, yada, yada. And they just had a kid on the way. And he's wrestling with the idea of, leaving the same way Joan did because she didn't feel empowered at her job or fulfilled or whatever you want to call it. And he was going to make the same decision. Now, had he did this before he got married, it would have been fine and cool and dandy, but he probably would not have got the girl he got either if his situation didn't work out. Because again, when Joan left, her club was failing and it did not work, the idea she wanted to do. Now, William wanted to go to practice by himself, which again, there's not complete clauses, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that you got to deal with, which I don't know if the storyline pointed that out, but like he can't just take his clients with him or whatever. So he would be starting from scratch. And there was that dynamic of him struggling between, yo, do I go out? My wife comes from security and resources and protections and wealth, and she has a new baby. Would it be wise in this certain moment to go off there and do my own thing and be rebellious is what some of these chicks online want from these men, corporate America. And of course, he weighed it all out and was like, nah, you know what I mean? Like, I got a baby on the way. I just got married. My wife ain't playing these type of games. I can't go out there and do that, right? And same thing happened, not similar, but another concept. Hold up.
Good.
Oh, better than good. I'm gonna quit.
What do you mean you're gonna quit?
Well, I was thinking about what you said, about standing up for myself, and I played it out in my head. I go in there and I say, hey, you know what? The other day when you called me aggressive, I found that offensive. You wouldn't have said that to a white lawyer. And then he'll go, oh, William, you're being oversensitive. And I'll say, no, I'm not being oversensitive. And frankly, I resent you dismissing my thoughts so offhandedly. And then he'll go, oh, he's gonna hit me. And he'll go, Dent, you're fired.
I really don't think that's likely, William.
My point is, no matter what I say, the situation's not gonna change. I'm never gonna be heard over at their table. I need my own table. I'm gonna start my own firm.
But you quit once before, William. And your only client was an organ grinder with a monkey you had to meet at a lunch counter.
Well, a lot has changed since then. The lunch counter's gone. That monkey is dead. Senior partner now, coming off a big case. I've got clients that are gonna follow me. Look, if I'm gonna do this, now's the time.
You're also gonna be a father.
Yeah, well, I want my son or daughter to know that he or she has a father that's gonna stand up for himself. If I don't do this now, then when?
I don't know. I just don't want to stand by and watch you become Will Smith in pursuit of happiness.
If I do, are you gonna leave me?
Of course not. I'd kill myself from the shame.
So, flash forward, Blackish. I watched one of the episodes where the older son decided he didn't want to go to college, whatever, and everything's tripping. And good storyline and all that good stuff. But he came at his father, was like, yo, I'm taking a risk. I'm not doing things in the traditional route. I don't want to be like you, who stuck at a company for 20 years that gave you security and was able to provide his life for us. But it had him feeling that way because he recognized that, yo, I didn't want to be here 20 years. I didn't want to be in this position. I wanted to go off and start my own thing. And now he's having second thoughts of, damn, was I a coward? Was I lame for doing this? But as the story shows you, and if you watch the episode, his wife, Bo, Rainbow, was like, if you didn't do what you did, we wouldn't have what we have now. So every decisions you made gave us this stability now, meaning dealing with all the stuff that you dealt with in the corporate America and whatnot, and not quitting your job and trying to go do your own thing, which is a risk that could have a reward. But again, when you're a married man with people depending upon you, you think different, right? Like, people say things like, well, a wife makes a man a better man and all this other stuff, and he's more successful in corporate America and this and that. Like, no, motherfuckers with wives and kids got responsibilities. They work harder and they work more because they have responsibilities, and they're more dedicated to their careers. Where a single childless man with none of that, he can be more rebellious. He can make more decisions that he doesn't want. And that's something that I don't understand why we don't comprehend that, right? Like, we know that's why in corporate America, married men are preferred, because they're going to stay. They're not going nowhere. Now let's fast forward back. Now back to Steve Harvey and Monique. So Steve Harvey's in the media business, so speaking and articulating well his point of the view. It was kind of a heated, not so heated, but friendly debate. It could have been, like, to me, like the male-female version of the dialogue between and Lean on Me, where the I'm the head NAC, the one of that beautiful debates between Morgan Freeman and I forgot the other brother name, but how they walked into the court auditorium room and they were hashing it out and having a real heated debate between friends. Now, of course, all the butthurt, bitter black feminists online where he's not talking over her and he's not letting her talk and this and that, all this other dumb shit that had nothing to do with that. They were cool. Part of it was it was in off the dome, so they didn't know what they'd expect. Part of it was also he trying to get them ratings, so all that came into play. But I can't with these black feminists who were like, he talked to her this way and he wouldn't let her do this and all that little dumb shit, right? Like, you want your humanity to be heard and seen and treated as equals, but then you act like little cry. And Monique's not a punk. Like, she keeps her energy. Like, she said the Solomon, which I thought was messed up. No fan of him. But, you like the slave master and birth of a nation that's going to take, the slave is going to take his wife for the slave master. Like, that was some foul shit to say on air in front of millions of people. So she's not like she's some soft kitten that's not willing to go back and discuss. Again, she was on his show, his platform, so that's the way that works. Now, if he was on her platform, which is a YouTube channel or whatever, it could have been different. But in their debate, in their dialogue, when Steve was saying things like, "This is the money game, this is not the integrity game," like, again, that's an example of black folks wanting to sacrifice a win, not to be right, but just to feel right. Like, Steve Harvey is correct. In his business, it's about money. It's not about integrity. And one thing you learn from white America and corporate America is that they'll move the goalposts and they'll do whatever it takes to win. For every reason, black folks haven't learned that game yet, and we keep trying to play the morality game, and we keep losing. Dum, dum, dum. Right? We see that in every aspect of our society, and particularly in politics right now. You see black folks about to go fight and cape for every other demographic but their own. Particularly black women. But my issue with the whole situation was more so about how, as a man, the dynamic was missing is that, and again, of course, feminists don't get this because they don't comprehend the idea, but Steve is one of those man up, the woman is the prize, Derek Jackson, Hill Harper, motherfuckers, right? So that's who he is. So he takes ownage and being a provider and being able to do things and offer family things, right? And he said, like, yo, if I don't have this, there's a lot of people eating off me that won't eat no more. And I think Monique's not in that situation. Now, I'm not saying that she don't got kids and stuff like that, but the onus on Monique, being that she's a woman, even though she's a primary breadwinner in her situation, she doesn't have that responsibility. She's not tasked with that. So I think it's not fair, logical, rational, whatever you want to call it, to compare the two and talk about it, especially when Monique didn't have integrity. She was in that same Hollywood bubble until, again, she got tired of it, right? But people were bringing up the jokes about Steve Harvey and the monkey comment and all this other stuff. And I'm like, come on, like, we got to be smarter than that. Like, it's not that simple. I think that what Steve was saying was correct. People are saying, like, oh, he's worth this much, he's worth that much. Now, if you see, he's lost a few jobs, which there's people happy and rubbing that in. Black people, I tell you. I don't wish for any other black person's demise, even if I don't like their content or whatever. But that's not us, right? We wish Cashapp Michelle the worst. The way the black women treated Cashapp Michelle, like, they can never talk about the sisterhood and black girl magic because y'all destroyed her and demolished her. Grown-ass black women talking about, I hope she loses her job, I hope her label drops her, all that. That's crazy shit, right? But that's black people for you. But Monique, jumped out there talking about, I'm not going to, bask in his demise or whatever, and I'm going to play the bigger person, whatever. But we knew these things happened a year ago. Steve, it was announced over a year and a half ago that he was losing his spot to Kelly Clarkson and that he was going to lose the other show too. Like, this was old information, but I guess, people don't pay attention to the stories or whatever, or this better fits the narrative that, oh, he's losing all these opportunities. The man has a whole bunch of jobs. Like, he's still good. And again, I'm not a fan. Don't listen to him on the radio. Don't watch any of his shows. All I see is the clips on Facebook where he's telling dudes the man up and the woman is the prize. And it's unsolicited advice, right? Even though women supposedly said they don't want men giving them advice anymore, especially a motherfucker that's been married 3 times. But that dynamic is not being addressed enough. How in a patriarchal man who takes on that protect and provide model, and how it's not necessarily about what he wants, his dreams or whatever. Women want stability, right? That's what all the people online are crying about is, black men don't offer this and that. Well, he's one of those black men that do. And this is what comes with black men like that who do, especially in corporate America at that level. Like, everybody knows there's some ass kissing and some integrity things going on. Like, that's just the American way. It's not this clean-cut thing that I don't understand what black folks don't get about that. And he did try to clarify what he meant about integrity and whatnot. And again, that was in a heated discussion that seemed like it was off the top of the dome of how it went. Again, he didn't articulate himself well in that moment, obviously. But my point of view is that it's like, yo, he got a shitload of people eating off him, not just his family, but workers. And when I hear black people say things like, well, he got 120 million net worth, why he should be able to survive off that and go do his own thing? No. Like, why should he have to do that? Why? What benefit would it be for him to make that sacrifice, especially when we don't support certain things? And the man got called, despite his efforts in his community outreach for young boys and his mentorship, right? He did a little speech saying why he went to the White House and what he got out of it, right? And how it played out in the media, and he got called all types of coons and this and that for doing that. And he broke it down like, yo, Trump's transition team and Obama's transition team told me to come meet with Donald Trump. That's what it was. And when the president's previous administration says you go do something, he said he did it. He didn't know what was fair. Now he admits that when he came down the elevator, Trump did what he does, and the cameras and the optics of it made it look like something that wasn't. But Steve Harvey got what he wanted out of Trump, meaning the little program he wanted to do and with Dr. Ben Carson and HUD, he got that approved, right? So he actually got something done despite all the fuckery and all the coon calling and this and that for meeting with him. He did the shit. And he had receipts working with young black boys in mentorship prior to this. So it's like, but again, we're dealing with black people here, so we don't take any of that into consideration. Hence, that's why, like, I'm not a fan of Roland Martin and Bullet Bird, but I've never, like, been happy that he got his show canceled off TV or any other stuff. I'm not supporting donating to him because I just can't fuck with him. But I just don't see the logic in wishing for these people's demise, despite the fact that I just don't agree with them. And that's the problem that we have. And that's why a lot of people, I think a lot more people are going to become more rugged individualisms, or they're going to not think of the group, because that's the whole argument that you better Cornell and Tone, you got to think of the group. Politics is the group. All that bullshit she's talking about. But the group don't offer shit. But the group got a lot of demands. And that's not how this works. Like, you have to offer something before you can talk about this group think, and rugged individual is a divisive thing, and it's coon stuff like Trick Nasheed said and all that. Like, nah, be like, people going to start looking at how we react to certain things. They're going to look at their cost of benefit analysis. They're going to say, I'm going to do what works best for me and my family. And that's what every man's responsibility is for first. Every man's responsibility first is his family before the community, right? But that's how you build a community, is you get a bunch of men who think like that together, and they form a bond in the community, and they can do things in a cohesive manner. But this idea that he's supposed to just sacrifice all that and take risk when he got a lot of motherfuckers eating off him, that's a big ask. Monique doesn't have folks eating off her, like her own family may be affected by this, but she don't got hundreds of people working for her and whatnot that are dependent upon his success and what decisions he makes. So to compare the two, to me, is asinine. You can't remove that gender dynamic of protecting and providing and who's tasked with that. Monique is not tasked with that, right? Y'all all up there, women up here, and they feelings about her husband saying he this, and that, disrespecting, which I don't agree with that, being that if it was a woman in that situation, like, we're going to give her all kinds of credit for being there and managing him and getting some stuff. We're going to give women success that ain't do shit to help them succeed. We do that. But if you have a person that's there and she says out of her mouth, like, yo, I've had these agents, I've had these people who didn't do what needed to be done, and he's gotten me further. Now, he's been critiqued even by Steve, like, yo, the way your husband's doing business is not correct in this game. That's advice that she clearly don't want to take, and she's in the position that she's in. But I just think that there wasn't enough nuance thought to this, to the response to this from Black YouTube. This, oh, he's just a coon and she's the hero, right? Or, you know, he's a sexist misogynist and he won't let her talk and blah, blah, blah. Like, no. Y'all cry all the time and complain about the lack of male leadership and these things and that. And Steve in that moment exhibited, he did what he had to do to provide. Everybody can't be rebellious like y'all can. And look what happened. Monique was rebellious. She kept her integrity, so to speak, and look at the situation she's in. She's damn near blackballed and killed, damn near burnt all her bridges. The way she did it is what Steve said was wrong. He didn't say he disagreed with her. Monique even said, Tyler, Oprah, all of them, Lee Daniels said she was right, but the way she went about it was wrong. And clearly, it was, because look at the situation that she's in. Everybody else is doing Gucci. She the one that she's been on tour for almost 2 years talking about this Netflix thing. And I know she's done shows here and there, but I know more about this than we know about her comedy or her movies, right? But that's just my take. I don't believe that the way this went down was looked at properly. And I don't think you can remove the reality that Steve has a lot more on his plate and a lot more to lose than her. And then his integrity comment, again, he tried to explain what he meant. And, of course, people jumped out the window because they want to have their own ways to frame it. I got what he meant. It's a money game. And it's not necessarily what's right, it's what sells. And, of course, you go in there, you compromise some things to get what you want in the end. And it's like there's no solution. There's just simply trade-offs in the game, especially at that level of wealth that he's at. And maybe that explains why we'll never get there as a couple, as a community, because we got these delusions of grandeur, and we think that we can just go in and do what the fuck we want to do and not have any structure. Like, nah, can't do that. Every person you want to give credit to, and think about the praise that Nipsey Hussle got, right? Like, Steve has done more and just as much and hired just as many black folks, probably even more. But how does Nipsey Hussle, who was a gangbanger, probably hurt a lot of black lives with his criminal activity, and his demise get praised and lifted on the pedestal? But Steve, who, again, he be on some fuck shit in his commentary, but he's mentored and supported financial resources to the communities that are damaged by men like Nipsey Hussle. But that's black folks for you. I'm out.
Love you. And I will support you on whatever you decide to do. And if you end up living in the men's room like Will Smith, I'll be there in the ladies' room right next door.
Don't worry, I'm sure we can find a unisex bathroom so we can be together.
I love you.
I love you too.
Okay, people, let's get this party started. And by party, I mean, of course, resolving our strategic impasse regarding the Foster case.
Very good joke, Charles.
So, the Foster case, where are we?
Well, I still feel...
I'd like to make an important statement to begin with, if I may.
Uh-oh. Back up. Dent's gonna bring it.
Bring it. Love it, Clark.
Look, there's times in life when one's got to make a decision. And making a decision can be rough. It'd be nice if that decision could be all about oneself. But sometimes there's others that we're responsible for whose interests have to be placed first. I'm talking, of course, about our clients whose interests we represent. And as uncomfortable as it may make me, I do believe that Clark's approach would best serve those interests.
William, it's very big of you.
And very articulate.
Very good decision, William.
No, Marsha, I wouldn't say that was good. I'm pretty sure that it's right.
So then, we'll go with